We'll still wait a couple of minutes for people to kind of drop by, but just to get started and maybe say hello, welcome to everybody. Hello, Neha. Thanks a lot for taking the opportunity.
Thank you.
Maybe we start the official recording first. Congratulations to Melissa for retrieving the golden hoodie. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Who doesn't know it yet? Because Melissa runs the best Salesforce study group by far. I think you have by now the most Salesforce knowledge within your study group, even as documents. Everybody tells me the same. It's just amazing. Thank you so much, Melissa, for what you do for the community.
Yes, it's just going to get better now.
It's going to get better. Doesn't how?
Yep. It's just wait and see.
Ah! So a little bit background. I think, Melissa, maybe you introduce your study group quickly in like 2 sentences so people know what to expect.
Sure. It's the CTA study Slack, and we meet 4 days a week, and we all have discussion on CTA topics and things relating to the review board. We have guest presenters and speakers like Johann. We always have our people who pass the CTA review board come back and do presentations for us. And people find study partners and smaller study groups as well through the group. Yeah, so it's really been very helpful to help people prepare.
I think you missed out one of the most important parts. You have like 1 million recordings and documents by now.
Yes, we have lots of recordings and documents. We all work on documents as a community and a whole catalog of recordings. So you can review anything we've talked about in the past, which is cool. We call it the Netflix of CTA.
I can say from my side, I mean, some of you know I'm a CTA coach, and almost all of my students, half of my students get the same homework. Join Melissa's group, please. And only come back once you joined your group. So Melissa, so time to time you should see people drop by. And this brings me over to Neha. Neha, are you okay with, so a little bit background, I'm a CTA coach, and I will do the same with Neha as I do with some of my students. My students usually prepare a scenario. We didn't do that today, but I will start with my usual questionnaire. Is that okay with you, Neha, to do it publicly?
Yeah.
If you don't feel comfortable answering a question, always just say stop. You know what I mean? It's a public setting. Usually it's a private one. Okay. So Neha, first one. Did you do your homework? Do you do your prerequisites? Do you have your mock? Do you do your cheat sheets and stuff like that?
Yeah, I have cheat sheets. I have written notes in my rough notebook as well, bookmarks, a special bookmark for my CTA study, and of course, Melissa's Google Drive shared document for all the CTA Bible, etc. It's
Nice.
all here and there. Yes.
Yeah. So then I already would put you down for one piece of homework here, if that's okay with you. So I don't know if you knew, but there will be homework. The cheat sheets are the baseline of everything going forward. There's almost no way of passing without having proper cheat sheets. So far, I met no CTA who didn't have amazing cheat sheets. And cheat sheets are, as my understanding, have 3 levels. The first one is you create it yourself for yourself. This is all you already did that. The second level is I would have all of your in a group. You're a small group, so it's an open discussion. Jump in if you feel like, don't. The second level is you discuss the cheat sheets line by line with one study buddy. Why? You don't know what you don't know is the first reason. The second is talking about it in a very line by line sentence helps you sharpen your communication skills. And these cheat sheets coming out of this discussion are like 80 to 90% perfect. But then there's actually a third level, which I remember doing in our study group over and over again. We discussed it in a larger group, like 4 to 8 people. Again, each sheet line by line. So we didn't create cheat sheets together. Each of us updated their own cheat sheets because everybody has a different style. But if you do this 3 times in a row, after the third level, your cheat sheets are solid. And to this day, I use my cheat sheets for my work. It's not only for passing the review board, it's my cheat sheets. Does this make sense to you, Neha?
Yeah.
Maybe anybody who wants to jump in here? Melissa, you have a lot of experience with cheat sheets.
Yeah, I created all mine for Global Public, but I just actually reviewed them. I'm like, oh wow, this is all stuff now I don't even need to study anymore. So it's recording in progress. Discussion is also very important.
Yeah, the discuss, and it has to become muscle memory. This is why I think you should do the cheat sheets kind of 3 times, almost like delete them and do them again. Okay. So next question. Thanks, Melissa. So I put you down with cheat sheets 1 out of 3, if that's okay. 1 of 3. Next one is, do you do mock exams?
I've recently started. This month I did. Yeah.
How many did you do so far?
Yeah, this month.
Yeah, how many did you do mock exams roughly?
4.
4, nice. As far as I understood, most people who pass get something like 25 to 50 mock exams. It just has to be, it's a muscle memory. Like there's no way other than practicing. How did it go with the mocks? Have you been able to sit through the whole 3.5 hours preparation, or did you do in breaks?
I did it in breaks, and I'm struggling with time management right now.
Yeah.
And the time is something I'm struggling with.
Which is perfectly fair. Nobody runs the marathon the first time they practice. So I can tell from my experience. First of all, I want to add a disclaimer here. Really important, the usual disclaimer. It's my way of doing it. Different people have different opinion. I'm not an official CTA judge. I'm not the Salesforce. It only just my. I had really problems sitting through the whole scenario at one sitting. It took me almost 3-4 months to get it done the first time, because it's a long time. So I did it oftentimes actually on 2 days. 2-3 hours today, 2-3 hours tomorrow. It becomes better. The second is with time management. I had really huge problems also with time. At the first couple of times, one scenario took me almost 10 hours at some point. You get obsessed. It was a scenario which included lightning scheduler, and I was, So you become faster. Just make sure you practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have a plan to get up to something like 20 mocks until you're bored?
Sorry, can you come back?
Do you have a plan? You need a plan how to get many mocks. Do you have a plan there?
Yeah, so right now my full focus is on 602, and 602 has complete different strategy than the actual review board. So I've been preparing the strategy for that, and then later I might focus on the actual review board.
Okay. Yeah. Be a little careful. CTA 62 doesn't have a complete different strategy. It's still the same exam with the same strategy. Okay, what I want to say is you should be somehow making sure that you do 1 or 2 mock exams going forward now per week.
Per week, okay.
Yes, it takes, and 1 mock exam takes about 8 hours. Preparation, giving this, or either as a candidate or as a judge, it doesn't matter. I find actually, Melissa, again, I would like your feedback there. I find actually being the judge tougher, because I still have to solve the scenario completely myself, and then I have to listen.
Yeah, judging really helps.
Yeah, because then you see it from both sides. And
yep.
So have a nice balance of mock exams and study time now going forward, because I think you have most of the technical knowledge by now, I would assume, Neha. Now it's so, for me, it was Saturdays. Saturdays was mock exam day. And another tip here, please don't do all your mock exams with the same group all the time. Mix up the groups, because you become group blind.
I can understand, yes.
Yes, okay. So make sure that you create a plan, almost like a project plan going forward for your mock exams, because they need preparation. You need people to do it with. They don't have to be with CTA judges. They don't even have to be with architects. Sometimes I did mocks with people who are not even architects. They still worked kind of. Yes, they ask funny questions, but you have to still be able to answer these funny questions. Try to explain your data model to somebody who doesn't know Salesforce. Try to explain your OAuth flow to somebody who never heard of OAuth. Every level of explanation helps. Okay. Good. Then mock exams more. Are you part of study groups?
Yeah.
Perfect. Put it down there. Again, here, don't be study group blind. Don't always study with the same people. It's great to have a base study, but make sure that you have a different inputs. Nice, yes. Do you watch mock videos?
Yes.
Yes, this is good. So a lot of people, maybe here to the group, a lot of people are say, I don't want to watch mock videos because I want to solve the scenario myself first. It's okay, the approach. I would still say watch the mock videos because first of all, you forget anyway the solution. If you watch a mock video today and you solve the same scenario 2 months down the line, you will not remember the solution, the paper. And oftentimes watching mock videos, at least for you, what do you take out of watching mock videos, Neha? Other people's recordings?
Because whenever I solve a problem, I have a single perspective. But when I see other people solving the same scenario, they have some different perspective. They might have different assumptions, different risks related to the same scenario. I might think of it in a deep technical way, but they might come up with another smart approach to that scenario. Like just, yeah.
This is a very good thing. There's a second layer to it about the mock videos. You learn how these people speak. So what I did, you know what I mean, Neha?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe again to the group here, you don't always have to actually watch the mock videos. Oftentimes I just listened to them while I went for a walk or jogging. I didn't actually follow them in detail. I just followed the way these people think.
I don't know how it might sound, but I have written down line by line what the other person was explaining the notebook over there, and I have written it in a separate color, like a red color, so that when I'm going through the pages, I'll just stay there for a minute and read what that other person spoke and how I'm supposed to explain the flow.
I did exactly the same. I had one mock I really liked, one recording, and I listened to it over and over and copied whole sentences. Neha,
yeah.
what's your favorite?
Written it like one full page. And I think I lost you.
That's okay. You're still there. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. So yes.
Is it my network?
It's all your network a little bit. Maybe you stop your video for some time. Let's see if it gets better.
Okay. I can hear you.
I can also hear you. It's fine. Okay. Good. So I feel the same. So maybe there's a little bit venturing out. I interviewed a lot of people who became CTA, and all of them have something in common. They're obsessed. You are the same, or obsessed about details, like literally line by line. I copied personally one mock video. I still, yeah. Okay, then let's go forward. How much do you study per week?
Per week, 20 hours. Either almost I'm watching videos or attending calls or watching recordings from the Melissa's Netflix channel. Yeah.
Okay.
Last night binge watching actually. Last night I was binge watching the 6 experience from different people.
Oh, I have to catch up on that. I haven't watched that yet. So because you have your CTA 602 coming up soon. When is it again?
29th.
29th. Also in 4 days.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And my last question is, how do you feel?
I'm worried about time, but I'm putting a lot of efforts into it, so I should be good. I'll survive 602, I think. And after listening to a lot of people about their experiences, before listening to them, I was not very sure. I was really nervous, but especially listening to their stories and their experience, I think I'll get through it, and I feel okay. I feel prepared. I feel ready. I just need to work a little bit on timing, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm absolutely sure you will pass. I can already tell because everybody. So what we will do today, it might be easy for you, but we will still make sure that you do it. Today's session will be focused on, thanks very much, first of all. My summary here is of the, you're fine, polish your cheat sheets and continue whatever you do currently. Great job.
Yeah.
Today, so a little bit background. My partner is a teacher, primary school teacher. And during lockdown, I listened to my partner teaching because we both have been at home and my partner taught via Zoom as well. So, and I learned something from my partner, which is called deconstructing sentences. Because kids don't actually understand yet how a sentence works. And especially my partner teaches a lot of kids who don't speak German yet. It's kind of funny this. And so she teaches how to deconstruct sentences. Okay, so, and we will do the same today. In a very funny way. You will be surprised. Good. Let me share my screen. What we want to achieve is that no matter what problem is thrown at you, you can come to a solution. The solution doesn't have to be the optimal solution. The solution has to work, to fulfill the requirements, to scale well, and to not be hacky.
Fulfill the requirement, to be scaled and not to be hacked.
And yes, yes, in a reliable, repeatable way.
Yep.
So because we want to avoid to make mistakes, I think we all have enough knowledge to solve this scenario, but we make mistakes. You know what I mean, Neha? Usually you find a solution.
Yes.
Yes.
It has to cover all these three. Yep.
Exactly. Okay. So let me start sharing my screen. So what we do is we think as little as possible. And what is now important, don't start to solution until I tell you. So right now, turn off your brain and do one step after another. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
So let me check here. First step is read out the sentence. Loud, please.
We want to allow our customers in our B2B community to pay for the products they ordered via credit card or direct debit, depending on the risk profile.
Okay. So this is our start. What we do now is, first, we want to know who does what. So far we don't, what, why, when, where, how. The how will be our solution later. And we need our assumptions. We need our entities. We need our systems. And we need our integrations. And we need our actors. I forgot them. Okay. We don't need the how yet.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Who is going to cover the, okay, this is the solution part.
No, it's not the solution part yet, sorry. So let's start at the top. First, before we even do anything, still no thinking. We do something super simple. We just highlight all verbs and nouns. The first one we can ignore because we want to allow just says this is a requirement. So yeah, just tell me what words to highlight.
Customers.
Yes.
Community.
Yes, I hit this.
Pay.
Yeah.
Products they ordered.
Yeah. Let's do separately products and ordered.
Yeah.
No, because they are.
Yeah, and credit card, debit card is one thing, payment method. Yeah. And risk profile.
Nice. So we have something here in this requirement. This is actually are these two different requirements. We have one requirement, which is we want to pay via credit card or debit card. And the second is we want to have a risk profile. So I actually separate out this requirement and ignore the second half for now completely. Let me press strike through. Does anybody know here? We ignore that completely. We are not allowed to think about that. So we do one requirement after another, because it's easy to get confused if you have multiple requirements in one sentence. Yep. So let's start. Who is the who? And more important, who is always a person. I know many developers sometimes say something like the system or Salesforce. Who is always a person. It's not always clear from the sentence. Sometimes it sounds like the system is the who, but it's always a person. Yes, customer. Correct. Next one. Does what?
Payment.
Pay for products.
Yep.
Why?
Because they ordered.
Exactly. Because they ordered. When?
After the order is given.
After the order.
Yeah.
Okay. Where?
On the customer community or partner community. On the community.
Yes, perfect. Where? B2B community. Did you cheat, Neha? Did anybody already give you this? Because this was perfect. You have to tell me.
Yeah.
Now we do this. Now we take every noun and actually sort it into entity, actor, or system, because every noun has to be one of these things. So what is customer? Is it an entity, an actor, or a system?
Actor.
And at the same time, it's also an entity. In this case, all actors are always entities as well. No, actually, you know what I mean? They become either. Yeah. Okay. B2B community
is your system.
Nice. Good. Products
is entity.
Okay. Ordered is not. We only care about the nouns for now. Credit card or direct debit.
These are entities. No, these are the methods actually.
Yeah, it's an entity payment method.
Yeah.
If it's a noun, it has to be an entity or an actor or a system. Okay.
Yeah, but I would like to change the products to the order, because they actually made an order on which they are going to pay. So
good point. I think we need both. There was a let's put that down as assumption.
Yeah, I was coming to that. That order has already happened. We are not looking at the order life cycle. And
it is in place. Yes. Good point. Because sometimes we pay without storing the order in Salesforce. Technically possible. Okay. Order is already in place. Nice. So we can add everything we have. Now we check all the verbs if they make for an integration. So is pay does this lead to an integration?
Yes.
Yes. What is the integration?
Payment gateway.
Payment. Salesforce integration always has two parts: Salesforce payment gateway. Now, payment gateway. We have to add the payment gateway to the systems as well.
Yeah.
And we have Salesforce to add to our systems, because payment.
Yeah.
Let's do it this way. Okay. Payment. Then we check next noun, ordered. Is this an integration?
I was assuming that order is already in place, so I don't care if it's an integration or not.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah. We still check every single word. You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah.
So now what we can summarize. We know now what happens. We know what entities we have in place. So we can already draw the data model. We can draw the actors and licenses slide, our custom, we can draw the system landscape, and we can update our integration slide without even thinking about it, without even knowing that we are in Salesforce. Because so far we didn't do any solutioning yet.
Yep.
We have no idea how we actually solve the problem. This is, I think, the magic of this deconstructing the sentence. You don't have to think. So far, my partner, who is a teacher, could do the same exercise, almost, most of it. As long as you're able to identify nouns and verbs, you can do that. Does this make sense so far?
Who, what, why, when, where.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, let's add a couple of more assumptions. We have the assumption that we have a payment gateway.
Yes. the merchant is already registered with the payment gateway, which is our, yeah.
What else do we have for an assumption? I would like to add the order is fairly simple. It's not a super complex split payment, blah, blah, blah order. It's a simple, you order, you pay flow.
Yeah.
Simple
Payment or one-time payment.
Yeah, simple one-time payment. Okay. Anything else you can think of?
I think the merchant is the one assumption that I always make using this scenario is that payment gateway, the merchant is already registered over there. And
merchant is registered.
Yeah.
Nice. You get bonus point for calling him merchant. I think you worked on a payment gateway project in the past, I guess. Okay, good. Now we already get, I don't know how the point system works for CTA, but we already get a lot of points. So why do I do, or Neha, maybe what's your takeaway from this exercise? Ask this way around.
Is sometimes or most of the times the hint of solution is there in the sentence itself. You just look at it and you can get the solution instantly. But if you're not able to get the solution, then maybe move on or something, but it's mostly there.
If you can, even if you don't know a solution right now, let's say you have no solution, you can still do everything we did and get the system landscape and the data model correct.
Yeah.
So don't move on. Do your steps. And don't think about the solution so far. So what happens to many people is they read a requirement and say, I don't know the solution. Then they, let's use like either they get bogged down and confused, or they ignore the sentence. Don't do that. Just do the exercise.
Yep.
Okay. I would say we do a super short break right now for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we come back and continue with our solution. Is that okay?
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Back. Thanks a lot, Jayesh and Prolay, for the feedback. It's not very innovative. I think most of us do this approach anyway in our head all the time. Intuitively, I just made it more, I think, a little bit structured. Okay, Neha, you did amazing as always. It was clear. Thanks a lot. So let me continue. Now, we start to collect our options. Again, no judging, no thinking, just collect our options. We always have the same options.
Options for solutions?
Yeah, out of the box, buy, build, manual.
It's Salesforce billing would be my first choice, but assuming that we have Salesforce CPQ in place.
Yes, so, but we can add another assumption. This, you have to make an assumption. Do we have a CPQ in place, yes or no?
I would say no for now. Good. Because in my, I will never go.
Okay, but still we collect it as an option for now. Then, as this is out of the box. What's the second out of the box functionality? It's not out of the box doesn't only mean that we use Salesforce out of the box functionality, but sometimes we use third party out of the box functionality.
The third party out of the box functionality would be Chargent App Exchange application.
Yes. Then what if we use the payment gateways solution, for example, a hosted version? You know, with a redirect and iframe?
Yeah, but then that would require a lot of customization, and what happens is
not charging. We just collect options.
Yeah, no. So I integrated the payment gateway using in Apex integration and stuff. And
let's do. We have the hosted version where we do the redirects.
We host it.
Yeah.
Like we completely develop it from scratch.
Now, hosted is when we include the payment page from the other solution. You know, when you redirect the user to the payment form of for example, PayPal or Stripe.
I'm not so sure about that.
I'm pretty sure there's two ways of doing payment gateways. You can do them either hosted, where you use an iframe or a redirect, and you pass as a parameter your order ID and your amount. Then the user does the payment on the page of the payment gateway provider, and then gets via a callback URL and together with two parameters gets back, yes, the payment was made successfully, and you get this parameter, and then you confirm your order.
We do the UI integration.
Yes.
The payment yes.
Yes, it's called hosted.
Okay.
It's okay. Yeah, hosted / yes, UI integration. Perfect. This is the first version, and via iframe or redirect. The second one is, like you said, from scratch, using Apex and REST callouts, or?
Yes.
Nice. Then we have chargent. What else do we have?
I'm aware of these three as of now.
We always have manual.
But then they can do the manual payments.
And we check the payment afterwards. This is actually in Germany, I often do that when I order something with a smaller shop. As they just say, hey, for example, I just recently booked a pottery class, and they just say, hey, please transfer the money to the following bank account, and then they check in the next days, and once the money is transferred, they confirm the order. So manual. It's never forget manual as an option. We are currently not charging.
Okay.
But we can add an assumption. You think the payment has to be confirmed instantly. This is your assumption, correct?
Yes, if we can go up to the scenario line again.
It doesn't say it's during the checkout flow.
Yeah, it doesn't say. So I have to assume.
You made an assumption, which is a very likely assumption, but your assumption is?
Yeah, it was a but obvious thing, but I really need to mention it.
Yeah, at least in your head, be aware of your own assumptions. You don't have to say it out loud, but so I could make a different assumption.
Yeah.
Okay, the payment has to be confirmed during checkout.
Yes.
Yes. It's kind of funny how often we make assumptions and often think. I had a discussion at some point with Bibo about renting a flat, and since renting a flat works different in every country, but we always think it's globally the same.
Yeah.
So now we do a funny exercise. Still no judging, just making sure, is this a valid solution out of the box? Does it technically work?
Since we have assumed that there is no CPQ, it will not.
Good. Simple as that. It's invalid.
Yeah.
Good. Hosted. Does it technically work?
Yes.
Does it fulfill the requirements?
Yes.
I would like to add always one more requirement assumption here. We are doing customer facing. What about UI? How important is a perfect UI and UX for your solution?
That the customer is getting what he needs onto the screen. Like if he needs to make a payment, the payment button should be there, and then he should immediately get the response whether the payment is successful or not, or how much payment was done, the email response or SMS response or whatever is there after the successful or decline.
And how important is it for you that the UI looks exactly the same of the payment form? Or for example, how important is it that the user stays on our page? How important is it that you can configure how the payment form looks like?
It should be like generic, like the one that appears on the payment gateway should appear on my screen as well, so that there is a consistency.
but it's okay if they are slightly different.
It's, yeah, okay. It's not a.
So UI can be, that is not of highest priority.
Yeah, it's not a pixel to pixel kind of requirement that I need to do.
But if I would change that to a B2C community, would that change your assumption?
No, because still that is an assumption. I am allowed to make it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Assumptions, you can only make realistic assumptions. I would personally say if it's a high volume B2C community, I would personally go with UI is of highest priority. But yes, you're right. You can make assumptions. Okay. So does it fulfill the requirements? Let's go back. Yes, it does. Does it scale well, the hosted version?
It does. But then every time something changes or a new regulation comes up, it's not an immediate thing, or it requires a lot of efforts from the development side to fulfill that.
Why don't they take care of it?
So I have a connection with one people where the customers might come up with something another, their bank might not support it. So I'll have to integrate with different payment gateways, right?
Yes,
so
but
I'll have to have the number of integrations will increase for me.
Yeah, but this is by scale. I mean, does it work for 5,000 users as well as for 20,000 users?
Yes.
You know, and like you said, yes, it's if I need a second payment gateway because we go to 5 more countries, it's work, but it scales. It still scales.
It still scales, yeah.
Yeah, you have to forget your execution mind. Yeah, I know we always, you know, because okay, so it scales. Is it a hacky solution?
Is it a
hacky? Is it something hacky? You know what I mean? Sometimes we build hacks. They work, but you know we are not proud of.
If the integration is happening via browsers and tokens are getting exchanged via front end, then it's hackable.
You think? I think it's industry standard. I mean, a lot of people do it this way.
Depends on how they do it.
We use good point. My assumption is there is an SDK in place from the payment gateway. For hosted version. So we don't build it ourselves. So the SDK of the payment gateway takes care of most of it.
Yeah, then you can have a secured communication between both the system. Then yes, it's not hackable then.
Good point. I never thought about it. Yes, if I build it, it would be hacky because I have no idea how to make it secure. Good point. Okay, so it's a valid solution. You see how many assumptions go into in one single sentence. Our assumptions are like double this length of our sentence.
Yes.
And how many different assumptions we have. I have different assumptions than you. Okay. So the next one, Apex REST plus callout. Does it technically work? LWC.
LWC, yes.
Does it work?
Yes.
Does it fulfill all of our requirements and assumptions? Yes, I would say.
Yes.
Does it scale well?
No.
What doesn't scale?
If the number of API limits are considered, the governor limits might get
API
exceeded.
limits only incoming calls count.
Okay, but then whenever a payment is being made, I immediately want the response.
This is within one call. So this is just a response body. This doesn't count against my API limit.
That would hold true in the case A as well, but
yeah, it would. Yeah, plus you're right. We will do it via the ESB. Yeah. So what I do is I make a post from Salesforce and Apex. I make a post to the API, and then the answer comes immediately as a response to that post. I don't, this external system does not call in. Ah, yeah.
Scale it.
Good point. My assumption was it's a synchronous integration. You're right. I am completely forgot. I made another assumption.
When you said that you want it at the same time, would be synchronous only. Like payment is to be confirmed during the checkout is same as the synchronous integration. So that is same.
Yeah, true. Good. Okay. So does it scale well?
Yeah, if implemented yes, it can scale well.
It can, like you're right. We have to make sure that we do not stuff which is not good.
Yeah.
Good point. And last one, is it hacky? Do we fulfill all security requirements? Is it a best practice?
It's if we are sending all the callouts in an encrypted manner or tokenized manner, that is an assumption, then it's secure.
Good. Then it is a valid solution, correct?
Yes.
Nice. Chargent. Does it work technically? But when I say Chargent, you can take any payment gateway app you want. Chargent is just the most popular one. Does it fulfill all of our requirements?
Yes.
Does it scale well?
Yes.
Is it hacky?
No.
Good. Let me just add this. Okay, so it's another valid solution. And last one, manual. Does it technically work?
Yes.
Good. But does it fulfill our requirements? Good point.
No.
No. So it's invalid. The good news is so perfect. Oh, the good news is so far we already now now when we just look into the valid solutions, we already have now a solution for our problem. Whatever we pick from these three, at least it works. Maybe we pick the suboptimal solution, but even if we pick by random, we find we get ahead in our. So which one do you pick now?
I would pick number 3.
Bye. Nice.
And
what's your alternative? Yeah. Let's just alternative.
Alternative would be number A. 2A.
Okay. So when we pick solutions, we have basically two main decision drivers. Make more, spend less. As a company, we care about nothing else. We want to make more money or we spend less money. Everything else doesn't matter. I don't care how complex it is for you as a developer, as long as, you know what I mean? I don't care.
The real life scenario, yes, but in CTA, I could care less about spending money in the CTA solution.
No, we do. No, CTA solution the same. This is very important. Just because we don't have budget constraint doesn't mean we still have to choose the most budget optimal solution. Yes, this is very important. Treat the CTA as every project you would treat. You cannot just, because then I would just give every external user partner community license and every internal user sales and service cloud license.
Oh no, not that much, but
no, you have to. The optimal solution is also the most optimal solution from a financial point of view.
Yeah, but ideally it should be a mixture of time to market plus the cost.
Time to market helps us to make more money. It's also part of this decision.
Yes.
Because faster time to market means we make more money faster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So why do you choose Chargent?
Because first of all, it has already developed tools for what I want. I don't need to create any interface, any integration, any security related extra development. It's
Nice.
already there. So the time to market will get fulfilled and less development hours. It will save me the cost for development and time for development.
Perfect. Amazing. That's it. So now we bring it all together. In order to, you just read out this up here. Sorry. Then I recommend, this is the solution. Under the assumption, I add my assumption. I consider this is your second solution, and then you add your justification. Okay, let's start. In order
for customers to pay via community portal for the orders that they placed, I would recommend Chargent App Exchange app. And as I'm assuming, the payment has to be made at the checkout time in a secure manner.
This is a good, maybe I can stop it there. Only pick one or two assumptions which you speak out, and only pick the two strongest, the most important one. Don't just say everything, because this would, yeah, good point. Yeah, Neha, go ahead.
So where was I? I was at the assumptions that the order has to be made at the time of, the payment has to be made at the time of order checkout, which is already in place, is my assumption. And I've considered options like custom development with iframes, but I chose Chargent because of the time to market and time to develop is less. And I already get the pre-developed user-friendly user interface. That's
nice. And you, by this way, you just picked a perfect solution. Get full points. Most of us could do that for this requirement from the top of our head, but what this method helps you is not make mistakes. Or what do you take away from this? This exercise, what we just did, Neha?
I should add something about security in my.
No, it was perfect.
It's perfect. Okay.
It was perfect. Yeah.
So the way I'm conveying the message should reflect my thought process as to why I chose this particular solution and did I understood the requirement correctly.
Exactly. And the same, and in order to make, and you have to have a structured thought process. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I would recommend do this exercise, what we just did here, like a couple of 100 times actually. Then it becomes second habit. Because if you skip any point, it's easy to start to forget stuff. So what I can tell from why I developed this exercise is from my students, most students they fail because they make mistakes, not because they don't know the answer. And they make mistakes because they jump into solutioning too fast.
Yes.
So with this sentence we just had, half of my students, especially the developer ones who come from an enterprise background, would somehow ignore the first half of the sentence and completely got bogged down with the risk profile and talk for 15 minutes about the risk profile calculation. You know what I mean? Because maybe they built that in the past.
I might have done the risk profile. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So make sure to structurize your sentence. And maybe now I open it to the group. What does the group take away from the exercise? Others.
So I get the same thing when I draw out the journey mapping. It puts me through that same thought process of who's doing what and why and how and when. It gives me a visual way to do it. And after doing it so much, that's my thought process now. Just, I don't even have to really draw them out, except if it's something maybe a little bit more complicated. But that's how I think now, more from that perspective.
Yeah, I say it's excellent, Johann. I mean, I love the way you decompose practically the sentence and actually coming to the valid solution. I really love it.
Yeah, this is kind of the funny thing is we had a really complex requirement of a payment gateway integration, and
Yes.
70% of the time we didn't think. Because we want to think as little as possible, because it's really exhausting. There's a CTA review board. So the less you think, the better. It saves energy.
And if you have these solutions, if you practice them ahead of time, then you already know them and you know how to explain it. Like you have to think even less.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to do, is come up with our template solutions for everything. Files and migration and payments. Payments is a big one.
Exactly.
And you have your main solution, then you have your alternative solution. So if you make an assumption and choose one and then they invalidate it, you have something else.
Exactly. I had a student yesterday who showed me his PowerPoint, and he just had so many solutions for so many different problems. Like I said, prepared complete solutions end to end.
Yeah. And people also get, like you were saying, people get caught up in the details. Like, how is the risk calculation going to happen? Don't worry about that. Focus on the user experience and the journey.
Yeah.
Make it simple.
Exactly.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to say, Johann and Melissa, that we have to defend. I mean, no matter whatever the assumptions we are making, we need to make sure we defend that properly. That's more important, how we are defending.
It is. Yeah. And any considerations, assumptions and considerations of alternative choices are really important.
If you don't, about this assumption thing, why I came up with, if you don't actually write out your assumptions on a regular basis, you still make them, but you make them subconsciously. And in order to properly defend your solutions, you have to know what assumptions you made, even if they are subconsciously. Because I think defending your solution is, most of it is like actually about stating your assumptions. Okay.
Yes, because if you don't state your assumptions, then you might get challenged.
Yeah,
maybe they still might challenge your assumption, but they're going to challenge you less when you're making your assumptions clear, and that's why you chose what you did.
Mm-hmm.
So does it often happens that you sometimes forget to mention the assumption, and at the time of Q&A, when something is being asked, you add it like, okay, this was my assumption, that's why I chose the solution, or you have to make it free while you're presenting?
Most of the times you would not call out the assumptions. Like 80-90% of the time you don't call out your assumptions. And like you say, then the judge comes back and asks you, hey, you chose here the chargent. Can you please justify your solution? And then you would call out your assumptions.
Yeah.
But it's an important exercise to still do it in your spare time, so you get into the habit of visualizing your assumptions.
Got it.
Yeah, thanks.
Johann, one question.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, yeah, great approach, Johann. Since I'm getting started with my journey, actually, it's the approach is really helpful. One clarification. So when we are explaining the solution, is it mandatory to mention the alternate approach always, or when you need to?
No, you only do this also again like 10 or 20% of the times. But as I did, for example, for the first 4 to 6 months, I did almost for every mock, for every line, I mentioned all the alternative solutions, just to make it a habit that I think of them.
Okay, got it.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I do the same. I'm currently kind of as my job. I'm currently we have a new project coming up, and we are currently solution designing. And for every single decision we make, we also think about 5 alternative ways of doing it.
Right.
We have some documentation in our study group where we have a requirement, and then we have a recommended solution, and we have also alternatives. So it's a good structure that you can use when you're going through scenarios.
Yeah, sure, Melissa.
Nice.
It's a decision guide we've been putting together.
Perfect. Because actually it's a limited set of options. We don't have too many solutions for our problems.
Exactly. And you can pretty much start to remember them all. And when to use each one, and look for the right keywords that tell you when to use each one, which we also have that too. We've been putting all those together.
Perfect. We call it the brute force way of becoming CTA. You just memorize a lot of stuff.
You have to.
Doctors do the same. I mean, you wouldn't say a doctor is an artist. No, a doctor just remembers thousands and thousands of points. A friend of mine is a lawyer. They do exactly the same. Like Melissa said, you listen for keywords, you have a decision tree.
Yep, exactly. We're working on decision trees too. We're working on all of it.
Nice.
Decision guide, trees. Yep, it's all very helpful. And I think that's really important for the CTAs, that the process of making your decisions and why.
Yeah, it make them in a structured way, always the same time. So I personally, I'm no fan of architects or artists. I think we architects are craftspeople. We follow predefined steps, and we always follow the same steps so we don't make mistakes. So even if I do a simple, I have one customer where I had to implement an outbound email. You know what I mean? It's super simple email automation. I still do exactly that exercise I just did with that customer's requirement. To get to reliable, repeatable solutions which have no mistakes in them. I still made a bug, actually. I made a mistake, but. So, Neha, how do you feel now?
Yeah, I think I'll need to practice this, to be honest, and get into that mode. I already am a bit, but yeah, the way that you mentioned that every time you do a mock, you need to just every time you have to get the assumptions. I was not doing that, and I need to start doing it.
This is where your study groups come into place, because you make so many assumptions subconsciously. And if you don't discuss it with other people, your assumptions, you never know which one you make subconsciously.
Yeah.
Because let's say a checkout flow might work in a different, fun story here. In my last company where I worked at Audibene, we had email as a required field, because we assumed everybody who buys from us, wants everything via email. At some point, we checked the data for India, and then we found almost all Indians don't have a valid email address. And we asked the Indian colleagues, they said, nobody in India cares about emails. And is this true, actually?
Now, after that whole digital India movement, everybody kind of has emails now. But
this was 1 or 2 years ago. So we as Germans made the assumption everybody has an email address, and we never questioned our own assumption. And we built a Salesforce system to reflect our assumptions.
Yeah.
So a lot of cultural knowledge goes into it, a lot of your personal experience. I would give you a second homework. Maybe we ask the group, what would the group's homework for Neha be? I would be curious what others see.
And what it is?
Maybe first the group, and then I wrap up myself.
Do you have a small study group already, like 4 to 5 people?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Solution, yeah, maybe Jayesh or Mira, anything from your side? Any homework?
I have lots from today's call, Johann. Like I'm just getting started. So proper study group. I mean, not just started with mock scenarios, because I'm not comfortable to start with mock, because lots of study should go before that. So yeah.
And something from Neha, something you would recommend for Neha to do now as homework?
Maybe more practice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Practice scenarios. Yeah.
More mocks.
Look into payment gateways in detail. You had a pretty nice understanding. I think you had some experience. You built some payment gateways, correct? Also in some integrations.
No, I have never. I just studied about Chargent in detail. I've watched the YouTube videos, and yesterday one of my study buddies arranged a call with their architect, so we had a little bit chit chat.
Yeah, you talked to Chargent architect. Oh God, I'm so
yeah.
Is that the
one thing I think I need to tell you, Neha, that there's a Visa developer, right? In the Visa developer, you can create your account and you can do the integration with Salesforce. That's more what Ion is. I mean, that's more secure, right? You have the payment gateway. You can do the integration with the Visa developer. You can create an account and you can do the integration. That is the best.
I would say the same. Like So I did this. I built one. I used Stripe in my case. It doesn't matter because Stripe was just a 2-click sign-up process. Build one hosted version. Build one API. Maybe build one API Apex-based version yourself and implement Chargent yourself, like in your org. Because you will always need a payment gateway for almost every scenario going forward. It's one of the few things I would recommend, like get hands-on experience, because there's so many small details. And the second one is get a dictionary. You still lack a few of the cool words, I call them. I don't know how they are called. Like for example, hosted payment version. It's called, this is just a word we say.
Yeah.
And it's
I
start a
get
dictionary. Yeah, you know what I mean. Start a dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Stripe is the best. Stripe, you sign up for a developer version like literally with 2 clicks. Okay, good. That's it from my side. Anything from your side, Neha?
I want to add in one more thing about payments. It's good to have a payment solution, but also sometimes you're given a payment gateway or some sort of existing payment system. Understand how you'll work with that as well.
Good point.
Scenario, the payment gateway names are mentioned, and then you need to figure out whether my solution will support it, like that.
For example, you have a payment backend, but this doesn't have a payment app itself. There's no app exchange app. Just as part of your decision tree.
Okay.
Okay. But how do you feel now, Neha?
Yeah, I always try to find out the gaps every time I do something and then work on those. So today I found a lot of them, and yes, I'll work on them. I'll practice and keep doing mocks and cheat sheets, level 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, I can summarize. I think you're in a really good way, and you are, it's kind of funny. You are like 80 to 90% of the knowledge there. The problem is the remaining 10 to 20% details take another 50% of the effort. Melissa, you know what I mean? What I talk about?
I understand. Fully agree with you, Johann.
It's the remaining 10 to 20% to get there is really tedious work because you have to spend so much time to find your own gaps. And this is the stuff which is often hard to research. So it's not an easy road ahead of you. Actually, the hard part comes now.
Yes, I've started to realize that lately, and because once you start to understand the gaps, is then you know that what you need to do. Because until then you don't know exactly where to go or what you need to do. You're just going with the flow and studying things and doing things and discussing. But once you start to get the gaps is where you know, yeah, this is what I need to do now.
Yes, and there is, you have to, I think you're now on a place where you know how much more in detail you actually have to go with your solutions, many more. So what happened to me in your situation, I actually went back and restudied a lot of stuff I studied in the beginning, but this time with a different CTA view. You understand what I mean? Not anymore.
Fully agree. It's a beginner mindset. Rather, we don't, assume that we understood everything. It's a beginner mindset at every point. I think that's what the Johann is trying to portray here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, for me, it was, for example, Sales Cloud. I restudied Sales Cloud. But
I've been restudying Community Cloud.
Exactly, because you don't know what you need when you study it the first time.
Yep, it's just so basic. You really need to understand all the security in communities.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And hey, just a fun fact for the community. I think I'm not 100% sure if this is true, but I found it on Salesforce slides. Did you know that community still is built on Aura components, which are just as Lightning Web components, which are wrapped in an Aura component? And this is why the performance is so bad?
Makes sense.
Because you know what, the Aura, the Lightning community performance is kind of, let's say, mediocre.
Right.
But they are working on it. Soon we have fully Lightning Web component based community components.
Yeah. They started right, Johann.
They started to work on it. Okay. So I would wrap it up from my side. I think Neha did a great job as always. Nothing else expected. Any last words from the group here?
Nope.
Then
good luck on your 602 and get a mock in before you go.
Best of luck, Neha. Do best.
Thank you.
All the best, Neha, and thanks all for being there. I think this is now I will stop the recording. Thanks a lot for all of you. Please stay in the call for now. Thanks a lot.